I went out, but I can hear everything. And my kids called. And I remember laying on the couch and they're doing what they call the cardiac thump. Now, I knew I was in car accident H2. That's all I knew. And so I say, what about the accident? And I said, well, how did it get like this? She goes, well, God gave it to us. And at the time, I didn't know I believed in God. So I'm sitting there going, in a room by myself, going, kind of cool, kind of creepy. I'm like, okay, what do you mean God gave us our brain? And he said, well, so you could teach people to love and forgive.
I want to welcome everybody back to another episode of The Soul Inspired. Today we have Leslie Peters with us. She is an inspirational speaker. She's had multiple near-death experiences. We're going to dig into that a little bit deeper. But first of all, Leslie, thank you so much for coming on The Soul Inspired. I really
Hey,
appreciate it.
thank you. Thank you.
I
It's a
uh,
pleasure.
I want to welcome you on. I'm really excited to talk to you. I generally start with everybody, and yours is going to be a little bit different because of I believe when these different experiences happened in your life. But I try to first start by getting a little bit of information of who you were when you were a child. So just from where you came from, like little
So,
Leslie.
little Leslie. So,
Mhm.
little Leslie, spirit really protected me because I've looked back and just up until 2000, I've always listened to my intuition. There, I call it the voiceless voice within. I didn't know what it was, but it helped me feel safe and it guided me on how to feel safe with myself. And it guided me, I don't know, everywhere it guided me seemed to work. So I just kind of shut down my intellect and rolled with my heart. Decisions, everything I judge. How's it feel? So
Mhm.
in this period, though, my life was, I lived it in the moment. So in 2015, I was a public health nurse for 30 years. I started hearing your work here is done. It's time to take the message out. And I'm like, no, I'm ignoring you. I like what I do. I'm not leaving.
Mhm.
And to up until, so I left in 2017. It was only in 2020 when I started writing to my younger self when my entire life came out and I started putting pieces together, right? Up until that time, if you had asked me, I'd be like, I don't know. I don't remember. So I think spirit had me kind of in a spiritual dissociation, learning about myself and other people. So the way I put it, age two sexual abuse started, but mild, like just it started by two different family members with, a really inappropriate kiss. And then five seems to be a pivotal point because from ages 5 to 12, I still don't remember much of anything. I spent a lot of time alone. Um, had no problem speaking up for myself, asking for help. Actually, I told mom, aunt, and teachers up until third grade about the sexual abuse, and nobody did anything. Um, I had a childhood, spirit really tested me because I had a childhood where it could have easily come out angry, resentful, not trusting people. And I came out the total opposite. Um, and I never understood why. It never did make sense to me. And so, ages 5 to 12, I really don't remember much of anything. And then 12, I stood up and stopped the sexual abuse by parent. And that's when I started remembering things a little bit. Um, and that's when like gaslighting and emotional abuse started. And then around 16, I didn't fit in at school. I was the odd one, like people are talking about what they wanted to wear, and I wanted to talk philosophy. Like it didn't
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like the friend of, I was liked by everyone, but not, I just didn't belong any one place.
Mhm.
And so when I was 16 or 15, I started, I thought, all right, maybe I'll try Blanc. I'll go to parties. I'll do, I'm a lightweight, so that didn't work out very well. And, you know, one thing I realize now is that when I tried to fit in, it totally backfired because I still didn't feel one with other people, but then I didn't feel one with me either. So it left
Mhm.
me feeling very unsafe and very ungrounded, lack of confidence. And I knew it had to change at 16. I'm like, I can't feel like this. I don't want to live. I have to feel like this. So when I got my driver's license, I went out in the world and I thought, I need to feel connected to something. And I drove to different neighborhoods and I would look at people walking down the street going, how are they like me? What do they have in common with me? What's the relationship with their parents like? What are they like in school? It didn't matter how old they were. I just got really curious about people. And that did help me feel less alone. But what it also did was after a couple of months, I'm like, I need to learn more about people.
Mm.
So I would park my car and I would walk up and down the street and go, hey, my name's Leslie. I kind of struggle with whatever it was. What about you? And I would look them in the eyes, and all of a sudden, like they would just open their hearts, and we would have like a really good, intimate conversation, not superficial.
Mm.
May last 10, 15 minutes. We always ended with a hug. And they would always say, wow, what a gift. And although the validation was nice, up until 2020, I'd go, what the hell gift are they talking about? Like, what are they talking about?
Mhm.
And what I learned is that spirit taught me how to feel safe with myself. And then when I went out in the world, I felt one with people. I never felt alone or unsupported, even though I was emotionally. Um, that feeling one and that emotional intimacy is what allowed me really to thrive. I mean, the voiceless voice within gave me the foundation to have a good, healthy foundation.
Mhm.
And but the world, I always say, like the world was my home, strangers were my family, and anywhere I went, I felt like home.
You said at 2, you went through your first near-death experience. Is that
So,
so? How did
so what
that maybe
happened?
let us know how that
How
happened?
I
And
found out was in 2018, 17, I quit work. I just listened to my gut, flew all around, met all the top help self-development people, Tony, all those people. And then something went, I'd always said I wanted to be a vagabond. I was on the road camping with somebody, and I got a call from someone, the person I lived with, saying, hey, your stuff's outside. I'm like, huh? I'm like, oh, okay, thank you. Now I am a gypsy and a vagabond, right? So I thought maybe I should start to make a business out of this. Although deep down, that was my head because my gut, I started out as a business major. I hated business. I quit, right, to go nurse. So I started using a computer, and the first month or two was fine because I mean, I taught myself to build websites. It was like just self taught. I did all this stuff. And then all of a sudden, something happened with my vision where it went like 20/20 to 400, 500. I developed cataracts that doctor said would take a couple of years to cause a problem. And in a couple of months, they were big enough I couldn't see. They took the
wow.
cataracts out. They came back again. I'm like, I would get on the computer and I would start drooling and slurring. And I would sit in front of a blank screen all day. I would just like stare at it, where I'd be writing on Word and I think I'm like, oh, good, I got a lot done. I wrote for 8 hours and I'd written like a couple sentences. I'm like, whoa, what is going on? So
Hmm.
I went and had my cognitive function studies done. And the first doctor just looked at me and goes, how'd you get through life with a brain like this? And I said,
Wow.
quite well. He goes, I've never seen anything like it. He said, and the key, nothing worked. He said to me, like, if, the hardware doesn't work, communicate to the software. He said, and if the brain is an orchestra, you've got no conductor. And I'm like, well, it's
Mm.
worked really well. I got through college, finished half my class in nursing. I've never read a book.
Wow.
But so during this is where, and one of the key with the brain was my alpha waves, which is when we are creating, right?
Hmm.
My alpha waves are twice the normal amount, yet half the speed. The speed they run at is the Schumann resonance. I was like, I'm finding all this stuff out, going, oh my God, it's
Wow.
not. But anyhow, so I came home. I had four different studies, and they gave me diagnosis. Like doctors were like, hey, are you ready for this? I'm like, yes. So I came home. I started writing to myself, and I'm going, you are amazing. How do how'd you do everything you've done? Like I figure I managed life quite well in pen and paper world. And I said, how did our brain get like this? And they're like, the accident. Now I knew I was in a car accident age two. That's all I knew. And so I said, what about the accident? And I said, well, how did it get like this? She goes, well, God gave it to us. And at the time, I didn't know I believed in God. So I'm sitting there going in a room by myself, going, kind of cool, kind of creepy. I'm like, okay, what do you mean God gave us our brain? And he said, well, so you could teach people to love and forgive. And I'm going, oh God, this is really weird. Right. And then I started writing to myself. I'd already started writing to myself a little bit actually before that, but I kept writing. And then I would go in these things between 2000, I think 20 and almost 22. I would start writing, and hours later, I would kind of come out of this trance and look at stuff, and it was in children's handwriting and all this stuff. It was really bizarre. But in a couple about a year after I uncovered the first near death experience, I asked my younger self to take me back because I've learned I think I kind of travel between bam in my bedroom, and my younger self is saying in writing, you sure you're ready for this? I'm like, yeah, yeah, take me back. So I'm in real time, and I see my 2-year-old self in the hospital going, please don't send me home. Don't send me home. I don't know if I spoke, but I could tell that's what I was saying. And then in real life time, all of a sudden, this incredible warmth came over me. I didn't see bright light, but it's incredible warmth. And I heard the voiceless voice in my heart that talks to me all the time say, you have to go home. Your life's going to be extremely difficult, but you will always be safe. And what I'm doing for you now, you will do for others. And I'm like, oh my God, it was helping me feel safe. And people always said to me, I feel really safe in your presence. And I was like, oh, like that. For someone who didn't believe in anything bigger than us, I
Yeah.
mean, the past few years had just, there's so much stuff to process. Then so that was the first one. Then I had a car accident at age 18. I still little, it was another car accident on a bridge. And all I remember before, throughout my life was that I remember we were teetering over a bridge and that I was in the back seat, but ended up in the front seat over the steering wheel. I have no clue what happened to the driver. My family never talked about anything. It was
Wow.
like, let's just shove it on. And I think I know who that person, I think I know one person now in the car, but I don't even remember who I was in the car with. Nothing. I remember we were coming home from a bar in New Jersey and I wasn't driving. And that's all I remember. The one at 42, I didn't even remember I had someone who was a psychic or, a medium. She'd said to me, Spirit said, why are you in such a hurry to do this mission? And I said, don't they know about the ACEs study? Like, I have 20 years, or there's a study I'll get, but it says that people with a significant amount of trauma, it shortens their lifespan by 20 years. And I joked with the medium, I said, would they know about the ACEs study? I have 20 years. And the medium looks at me and says, they said they could have taken you at 2, 18, or 42. And I went, oh,
Wow.
what the hell was 42? And then I realized there was a time when no one could figure out what it was. I was home and I I went out, but I can hear everything. And my kids called. And I remember laying on the couch and they're doing what they call the cardiac thump. and and I'm going, I remember so like I thought I was saying out loud, why are you doing the cardiac thump on me? Why? I learned, I think it was last year when I was really, really sick. I believe I stopped my own heart because I was so exhausted. I couldn't do it anymore. Because
Mhm.
I got to the point, the last probably 2 years, I really put my life on freeze because I'm like, do I want to do this anymore? I
Yeah.
would never take my own life because I ain't coming back again. But I was like, I'm really tired, like soul tired. I'm
Mhm.
so at peace with myself. Take me. I don't care. I'm good. All right.
Mhm.
There are a few things I would have liked to do, but I will have no regrets, you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
And that was a really scary place to be because I've always been a fighter. Luckily, my weapon of choice has been love, but still, like, it was, I used to go every morning, fight, 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 fight. I never knew why I did that. In the past couple of years, it's like, I'm a fighter. I'm
Slow
a
down a little
fighter.
bit. Right.
I'm not a
Right.
fighter,
Right. Right.
So, so those were the near death experiences.
Wow. So you,
And yeah,
but you were told at 2:18 and 42. It's interesting 42 because people in their 30s and 40s have a tough time. I've talked to a lot of people. It's usually when you have younger kids or your kids are getting a bit older, or some of them people will start later. And you're really worn out. A lot of people are doing jobs they're not happy about. They've been doing it for a little while by that
yeah,
point, and they're kind of worn down. And that's generally like I just had an interview come out just today about someone who that's what happened. She was just physically exhausted, and she had decided it's time to go. She jumped out of her body and said, "No, no, 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 no. That
yeah,
you got to go back. You can't do this right now." And that was around the same, I think, around the same age.
yeah. Well, I had, I love being a parent. I would do that over again. I don't have no regrets in my life. I love my time out in the world. But since day one, my soul's role here is to shift dark to light. So
Mm,
I've been surrounded by people whose hurt has tainted their heart and left them in their ego. I was married to narcissists. Everyone in my life was a gaslighter. So it was, that's what I'm saying. Like, it didn't seem hard, but looking back now, it was constant conversations with myself when they would gaslight me, going, don't say anything. You know, you're right. They're, you're wasting your breath. Let them
mhm,
think they're right. I don't care. Let them think they manipulate me. Let them think it.
mm,
I mean, there's so many people that think they got things over on me, and they didn't. I just picked my battle. My emotional wellness and joy is so important that, people say to me, well, don't you get taken advantage of? I said, I never do anything that doesn't fill my heart and bring me joy. So no, I
mhm,
don't do things because people ask me to do things. I do them because I want to do them. Like, I'm to be unconditionally unselfish, you have to be emotionally selfish.
mhm.
And I've been emotionally selfish my whole life. I don't care what's going on. If I need me time, I take me time.
That's good.
And I've been like that my
That's
whole
a
life,
yep.
which will also put you on the outs, right? Because people, friends, if you're going to groups, I'm like, I'm just always making a big excuse, but it's like, I I needed to be by myself. I
Mhm,
am like a lone wolf, and I love people, but
mhm.
you know, um, with the one at 42, you were saying that. So I think I just had enough of the mind.
I see.
I say I didn't think, but I used to shift my perception every day.
But
You know,
you would have been full in career mode at 42, I'm
oh, I love
assuming,
my job. I didn't
right?
want to leave. You should have
Mm,
seen all the stuff Spirit did to get me to leave because I kept
mm,
ignoring, saying,
mm.
nope, not listening, not listening. But the way I don't tell me if this happened to you over the past couple of years and uncovering who my soul was and my soul's purpose, like awakening to my awakening or, uncovering it. Um, I would, the way I would find out things is like Atlantis. For like a week, I couldn't get enough of watching stuff from Atlantis. I'm like, why am I doing it? Like, that's how I would know. Well, for right before I uncovered um, the the details of the near death at 42, I kept on listening to the Eric Clapton song "Tears in Heaven."
Mm.
I couldn't get up. I was singing it like 24 hours a day, and I'm like, "All right, what is this?" I said, "So take me back, younger self, take me back." And what it was is when I apparently was out of my body and went whatever, I was given permission by the other side. They're like, you know what, you, you can stay. You don't have to go back. And that something about that song, but I was like, no, my kid, I have to go back.
Hmm.
Like I was I was the most healthy out of everyone they were surrounded. So
And that was
it's
that was at the age 42,
42.
one
So
that you
that's
feel.
why I came back.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that song, Do You Know My Name? Would you see me in heaven? That had to either be playing or something, but that's hearing that song for a week is what made me write to my younger self and say, take me back to 42.
Mm.
I
Wow.
mean, it was crazy how much I don't think it blocked out. I mean, I think God, disassociation is fabulous. If I
Right.
had remembered you know what I mean? Like,
I think
if it's a
I've
spiritual,
yeah, I've said this a number of times. Like I talk to people every day that have had near death experiences now, and you know, I truly don't believe we're all supposed to experience that. I think some of us are more sensitive to it. I think a lot of us, if we were to remember and recall the entire experience, it'd be very difficult to come back to this.
yeah.
People that already have these experiences have a hard time. That sounds bizarre because, of course, we want to live, but when they go and they have this other experience that's completely different than this,
Well,
and
yeah,
they feel more alive and they feel more at home and they feel more loving, and it's like who they actually truly are all of a
yeah.
sudden comes back, and you're like, what was I doing over there? And there's this feeling of how do I reintegrate back now?
Well,
And
that's
I
why I've
think
been
it
trying to,
takes a very strong soul to be able to
yeah.
come back and continue that journey. And
Well,
I
look,
don't,
I'm telling you, as of 2017, I mean, my life, my perception of life out in the world was it was a utopia. And you can sing, people say to me all the time, "You flower child?" I'm like, no. And it was very hard. I remember actually probably around a year or so of networking with business people and people management systems. Couldn't connect with people. And I could feel their heart was closed. I could feel the wall, but I couldn't break through it. And I remember laying, it had to be up 2020 because I was praying to God. I'm like, God, I don't get it. Please, what am I doing wrong? Why can't I connect with people? And I woke up in the middle of the night that night and I heard you, what was it? You must experience who you are not to understand who you are. And you must experience life as you don't know it. And I was like, okay, like the past 7 years, I'm like, I get it. I get it. I get the lesson. Stop. I want my world back. Take me back. And you know what the key is? It really is heart chakra. My world, where I saw utopia, most of my days I spent with people poor, homeless, drug addicts, people in prison, people who have no choice but to honor the struggle.
mm-hmm.
And their hearts are open, but society doesn't accept them because they can't figure out how to play the game. I never could either. I don't want to, but I still can't pick, I don't
Yeah.
want to because it jeopardizes me. I step out of integrity. I'm not, you can't buy me. I had someone come up to me like 2 months, 3 months ago, this billionaires, and he's off. I mean, it was everything I'd been asking God for. Just like, give me someone who I can be the front man. I want to go take you tomorrow. Let's open a bank account. Do you like BMWs? I'll introduce you to like all these big hitter names. And I was like, oh, something doesn't feel right. So I said to him, yeah, I'm really sorry, but no. And he's like, you will never get where you need to be. You'll never break into the people that you need to get to. And I did the hard thing with him, right? But I said, well, in your world, yes. But you forget who's driving my mission. Like he's got, I'm leaving it up to God. But what happened with that gentleman is I did the hand on heart thing.
Mm.
And I've seen this before, but with him, he was super, all the emotions that he had pent up all those years.
Mm.
And he kept saying, you're the one I've been looking for. I'm like, dude, I just met you. I said,
Yeah.
listen, I respect what you're feeling, but I'm telling you, I've seen enough that it's not me. The person you've been looking for your whole life is you.
Right.
And you just found you.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and I've kind of known that my whole life. So I guess I avoided a lot of situations because I knew it wasn't about me.
Mm-hmm.
It was just what I represented. And that was their pureness, their authenticity.
Mm.
But in doing that,
Wow.
I've had to say no to tons of things that most people would jump at.
Yeah, it's the same. I can relate so much. I mean, being in the music industry, I've had opportunities and I look back now and I go, wow, can't believe I didn't do that. From a because my human comes back online. But
Yeah,
I know in the moment I didn't feel I I would immediately know this doesn't feel good.
yeah.
And I always follow that. Before I lose this train of thought, around success
Mhm.
and money and the value that we're in now. I mean, number one, I think there's a lot of shifts on the way. I think we're going to be seeing a lot. I think you can probably feel it. A lot of people who are intuitive are feeling massive changes on the way. And I know that people have been saying that for years. Oh, get ready. Like they're predicting changes coming, but there's something very strong going on right now from an energetic place. And so I wanted to ask you around that, a little bit about that, but I don't feel that success, I mean, success is a beautiful thing in whatever way you value success, whether it's monetary value, whatever it is. It's nice to have nice things.
I could care less about them.
Right, but
Mm.
I only say it because I think I think what's happened to us, you said this a little bit earlier on, that we went so the wrong way. We went
Mhm.
in this different direction that it became a very ugly thing. What I'm saying is we have this world, we have this, I mean, a beautiful garden could be success is what I'm
Yeah.
saying. It's just
Oh, yeah.
God created this is everything we're creating everything. So we should be able to enjoy it is what I'm saying. But
Yeah.
we're doing it in the wrong way. We're
Exactly. And that's why I said when I left work before from 1962 when I was born to like 2017 when I left work, every day of my life, every minute of my life, I was fulfilling my soul's mission.
Mhm.
I was doing exactly what I should. I just didn't know it. When I found out what my soul's mission was, I got so into the doing of what I created. So I stopped doing my soul's mission
Mhm.
because I know me. I can't. I don't believe there is such a thing as balance. I think God made neurodiverse and neurotypical people to balance one another out. My brain is not supposed to do the things it doesn't do well,
Okay. I see what you mean.
right? Like we're always trying to, I worked so hard to try to figure out how to do what four neuropsychiatrists said you will never be able to do. Now I worked really hard because I looked at the population I served as a nurse and went, oh my God, I imagine their brains are quite similar. If I can figure this out, I can show them. But
Mm.
I made myself so sick from trying so hard. And then I fell into that, oh my God, I can't figure this out. Like I I use Google Maps. If I hit book wrong hotels, I'm like driving cross country and booking a hotel where I think is in one location, driving there going, this seems awful out of the way. Well, I must have hit the one above or below. Like I can't function in a world of tech. And
Right. Right.
and I'm like, so then I got into the fear. What am I going to do? No one even understands my problem. Doctor says there's nothing they can do. I live alone. What am I going to do? And then I try harder. And the harder I tried, the more I failed, the scarier I got. I
Mm.
never felt fear my entire life, ever, ever before 2018, 19.
Wow.
Never fear. Never, never. Walk down alleys, go in bad neighborhoods because I knew, because it happened twice when I would approach someone who looked like they were in need in a dumpster in an alley in a really bad neighborhood. Something inside the voice would go, get out now. And
Mm.
I'd get out. And the
Wow.
other time I worked home care, I
Mm.
knocked on a door. There was nothing obviously wrong. And I knocked on the door. And as soon as this guy answered, I took care of pregnant women. The voice said, get out. Don't go,
Mm.
or don't go in. Don't go in. Leave
Mhm.
now. So I went in my car, and luckily my boss knew, she didn't understand me, but she knew I knew what I was doing, and she let me do my own thing. Right.
Mhm.
I said to her, please don't ask me to explain this, but I can't go in. I don't know what it is, but something inside me saying, don't go. And she's like, okay. I look back, my boss is the epitome. This woman, Susan Zupan, I text her all the time. I'm like, every boss should be like you because she didn't make me do, she allowed me to work with my strengths.
Hmm.
And because of that, you know, I never made a mistake. I broke all the rules, but I never made a mistake.
Hmm.
I
She
broke
trusted
rules.
that, yeah, she
She
trusted
trusts
that
I
your
knew I was
intuition was
well,
gonna
and she trusted
guide
that
you.
like by the time I left there, I had 40% of clients, like patients would request me, family would request me,
Mm-hmm.
doctors would request. I had doctors say to me, when your patients are in my hand, you don't even have to call it. I trust it
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because it was all nothing was up here. It
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
the connection. And that's what I think life is supposed to be with.
Mm-hmm.
That
I have.
I'm with you and I know what you need. You don't have to ask. I just have to tell you, and you tell. We're there for one another to hold that
Mm.
space because that's how I got into flow. That's how I got in a state of flow where like people would say, how'd that happen? I'm like, oh, kind of magically. That was the word of my life. Magically happened.
I like to attest flow. I think so. I relate to everything you're saying. Again, once again, uh, I would always. I worked in men's missions and worked with homeless people and did social work when my like when I was about 19 or 20, because I thought I was going to go and heal the world, and I wasn't really put into any times when I felt scared. But when I did, I trusted that feeling. There was a few
Yeah.
moments where I knew I had to end a situation. The difference was I was so young that my human would then come on later and I'd feel so awful that I had to end that situation. I would judge myself. I didn't go put
Mhm.
myself back in the situation, but I did judge myself when I decided, but I thought, no, I got to keep trusting that feeling. And and I think you just said something and it really came almost like a download to me as to why I understand that feeling, why I understand the intuition and flow. It's because at age 11 years old, I started writing music. When I
Mhm.
would write music, I didn't know how I would write music. I would just start playing chords on my guitar and I'd start singing and I didn't know the words that would come out. And they were very serious songs and I didn't know where they were coming from. And that's how I started writing. So I was naturally I was getting in tune with something greater than myself at a very young age. And I think that just like any muscle, I enhanced that muscle over the years. So when it
Mhm.
came to intuition, I could always feel when something was going, and I'd
Yeah.
always be confused. How do people get themselves in these awful situations? But I don't think people are trusting their
They're
that
not
intuitive
trusting
feeling.
themselves because the heart chakra is closed. When your heart chakra is closed, so here's what I learned. And this is I have the science, but I haven't had a real neuroscientist do it. But what I uncovered is that when you're spiritually enlightened, right, the open heart chakra communicates directly with the third eye,
Mm.
bypassing the primitive and executive brain. You don't need to know all those little things because your your heart is going to guide you to where you're supposed to be, and you will like those songs you wrote. Just do it.
Mhm.
One, and then the third eye is like everything spirit taught me, the hand on heart, taught me to connect with myself, taught me to keep the heart open. He taught me to do rubber band breathing, so I'd breathe ground to crown and down again, holding my abs in, and that increases cerebral spinal fluid. This is science. That increases cerebral spinal fluid to the third eye, crushing the crystals, doing a few things in between, but ultimately opening the gateway to a part of the brain, the reticular activating system, which allowed me to shift perception. I never understood that. Even now, it's just like my car gets broken into. Ooh, thank you, God. Now I have more room. Everything is a thank you, thank you, thank you, thank
Mm.
you. No gratitude journals. Never did those. Tried it, didn't like it. It's just throughout the day. Ooh, thank you. Spill a cup of coffee. Ah, thank you. That could have been so way worse. I don't, I
I
do,
see.
I've always done that my whole life, right? But it's because the breathing, the heart, affirmations, the way spirit, the voice taught me at the age of 2. I remember I used to close my eyes and go, I am safe, the world's a loving, accepting place, and do rubber band breathing. This came after the first near death experience. And I would just close my eyes and imagine a world where I was just like skipping, jumping, playing, connecting, hugging people. It was just safe to be me. By
Mm.
the time I was like 16, I saw that world. I didn't know I was manifesting.
Hmm.
And I think my job is to show other people the world. I'm looking now going, oh yeah, seriously? This is because
Yeah.
the world is shifting, but I think we're going in the wrong way again because spirituality is now the new Tony Robbins. So many people are out there. I listen. I can't read on the computer, so I just listen to YouTube. So I listen to channels, and I just hear we're making it too complicated, and we're making it about money,
Hmm.
even if they're not selling. Donate, donate, don't. I'm putting comments. You realize they want you to donate to AI generated content and digitalized voice by someone who doesn't have the willingness to put their name or their face, and you're giving them money.
Hmm.
Like it's, I don't
Yeah.
even. My whole life, I've always thought I don't want to label myself on what I find in the as a gross. I'm not saying that right. If I find a lot of people who are religious and they're not in integrity, I don't want to call myself religious. If
Right.
I and same thing spiritual now, I've been to enough places. There was a large spiritual center, a global one, where I was in the choir for a couple of years, and the founder that I did the heart thing, I say, you want to see something? I put my hand on his heart and he jumped like I was Satan. And what happened was our open heart chakra serves as a mirror, right? He saw and believed in himself that he was not living in integrity.
Mhm.
And at that moment,
Yeah.
I heard God, the voice said, move
Right.
on. The foundation's not there, you
Do you
know?
have people like do you have a website or any way people can contact you or anything?
No,
Or
because
it's
I
just
can't even find people to help me with this crap.
right.
I've yet to do a Google search effectively. I look at
Okay.
pictures. I mean, that's horrible. I'm
Wow.
really, but the visual, spatial, the eye, it's my optic nerve, which is really the issue. Is it
Hmm.
ironically, my optic nerve, my eyes see two different things.
Okay.
So in the real world, looking at this, doesn't matter. Things off. I mean, I know why I was always so klutzy now, right? I see steps where there aren't any. I don't see steps where there are steps. But when it comes to this, I'll go to hit something going, oh crap, I thought I hit that button. Putting files in folders. I'm so organized. But I'm like, oh, where did I put it? I thought it
Hmm.
was in that folder. Okay, it's probably the one above or below or next to. It's
Wow.
social media. I mean, my son will say, you put yourself just if some recording, like it doesn't even, I'm like, oh crap, I hit the wrong one.
Mm.
So safest is I can read short text, but my phone number is 610-506-8298.
Perfect. And I can put that in the
Yes.
show note and
And just
people.
text me. I get so many sales calls. Just text me first and say, saw you on the show, and I'll call you right back.
Oh, it's
But
beautiful.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's safe
it's
to put into the show notes if people want to
please.
get in
It's
contact.
on all the gift, like a part of this mission. I give gifts away every day and make little trinkets and poems, and I put it's all over.
Wow. I always end my podcast episodes the same way. I always ask everyone the same question. I'm fascinated with what you're going to say, because I feel like you've spoke from your heart the entire evening here. So, and it's simple, but it can be complicated if someone makes it complicated. And it's just simply, why are we here?
To love, to show one another, or to remind each other of our light.
That's why we are incarnated in this.
Mhm. The
It's to love.
foundation of humanity. We're not here to help one another. That's how the ego looks for praise. We're here to hold a space for one another.
Hmm.
To when I'm with someone and I touch their heart and I see a smile on their face,
Mm,
their smile reminds me of my light.
I love that. And I don't often engage into the answer. But my question around that, if I did a little bonus within it, would be if our soul knows love, if our soul already knows that love,
Yeah.
still, what would be the purpose of bringing our soul into this incarnated body to
because
refine the same love?
because it's different. We have different souls coming at different levels, right?
Mm,
You know, and life is about experiences. It's not about the outcome. It's about the experience, good, bad, or ugly. I want to experience life. I didn't come here for easy. I
mm,
came here for experience. I love challenges. Life would be so boring if it was easy. And I didn't come to be light. Like one thing I wish everyone realizes every single one of us has a dark side and a light side.
mhm.
I have dark. I could, if I really would let myself whoop, I could be a nasty passive aggressive person, right?
Yeah.
But the thing with dark is the the gift is our gift, your
Mm,
gift.
mhm,
It's in the dark,
mm,
but you got to be able to find comfort in the discomfort of the dark so that you can turn that dark to light. But that's a
mm,
conscious choice. Stay in the heart. You can turn dark to light. And
mhm,
it's not a one and done. I'm talking every day, every moment of every day. Okay. All right. Get in touch with my heart. I am safe. The world's a loving, accepting place. What's the gift? What's the lesson? Right?
mhm.
It's a 24/7 job. It's not one and done.
Yeah.
Every day that I ask God, like, because every morning I wake up first couple hours, I can't remember who I am. Disadvantage of having that many alpha waves, right? It's like life in
Mm,
the moment. That's and I know my name, but I go, what's my purpose? What do I like? What don't I like? I mean, it's like every morning since I was two, right?
wow.
That's where I learned though to sit in the dark.
Mhm,
And so every morning I go, okay, I know you don't like this feeling. It's really scary. I get that. But you know it only lasts a couple hours. Yeah, yeah, it'll be back in the afternoon. But we can do it. We've done before. People are so wanting to forget the past.
mhm,
If it weren't for my past, it would be in trouble. Like, look at your past, all you've made it through. Why would you want to forget that?
mhm,
You
mhm.
just want to shift your perception of the experience that it meant nothing about you.
Right.
But you don't want to forget your past traumas.
No.
You
No,
just want to
because
shift the,
they
you
make
don't
us who
need to
we are.
change. Yeah, you don't need
Yeah.
to change your beliefs either.
Mhm.
You need to change the percep. It is much easier to change the perception of the experience that created the belief.
Mhm.
And you do that by changing perception of yourself. You do that with someone with an open heart
Mhm.
coming up to you, looking in your eyes and saying, I mean, I've done this for strangers. And if people haven't felt seen, they burst out crying. I'm like, do you see your love? And they're like, yes,
Mhm.
that's it. That's what we're here for. Once someone sees that they are the person they think they are, then their actions and words will match the person they think they are. Right now, we're walking around everyone going, no, I really am a good person. But because we live in our ego, our words and our actions don't match what we know at a deep cellular level. And so we're a constant battle within ourselves.
Mhm. Yeah, I feel that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once you can get the ego out of the way and you go, oh, yeah, I am loved. I was
Mhm.
Tony Robbins. I knew I was loved my whole life, but there was a part of me that the narcissist and stuff. I went, maybe I am crazy. And Tony Robbins has this thing like the firewalk when the last thing he does, he hypes you up to blurt out, I am something. And I went, I am love. And I went, oh, the tears started falling down
Mm.
because I knew that my whole life. There were moments though where people, when you're light, when you're love, people who don't see themselves and it's in their own heart,
Mhm.
they don't want you to see your light.
Oh, I know.
When I worked in the hood, it was kind of like people who made it out were hated by the people still in. Not all, but I'm saying.
Mhm.
And I think what happened is because the person who made it out just showed that it's possible to make it out.
Mhm. Right. That's
And
unbelievable. Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say, out of everything you just said too, the real most powerful thing and that I'm gonna take from this is that that moment of calm,
Mhm.
putting your hand on your heart and
It's amazing.
because
It's,
like you
yeah,
said, it's a daily job. You know, we can feel as good as we are. I feel like I'm a really good person and I try my hardest to always be the best person for everyone and I'm always doing this and I generally am. I'm not
yeah,
talking from ego. I can tell you I generally am. But in the moments where I become more human and I have a
yeah,
moment, maybe my 2-year-old's just getting on my nerves, or
yeah,
maybe something's going on, right? Because I've had a lot going on. And I feel out of touch with myself. I feel like, oh, and the human machine is in full flight. The most difficult part would be to stop and
yeah,
find that calmness. But I think once I'm there, or once anyone listening in, once you get to that place,
yeah.
you could reset because
You
what what
can.
what
Yeah,
can happen. I'm really good at eventually finding that calmness, but I like this. It's almost like a tool because if you can stop it, you stop it in its tracks. It doesn't affect the whole rest of your day, let
yeah.
alone your life. And
So
so
when
that's a
you do
beautiful thing.
this, try adding, like there were this whole like a couple dozen heart healings because I was trying to figure out what did I do? What did I say to myself? What did I do? So it took me a long time to figure out what it
Hmm.
was, but the first three are the ones I learned when I was two. So I think they're the most important. Hand on heart, like we just did, right? Connect with the beat. Once you feel your beat, you're like, ah,
Hmm.
you know, and then breathe, ground to crown. So I used to call it rubber band breathing, up, and I would feel it coming, imagine coming all the way up, but do it with your abs tight and then bring it up. And then when I would get to the third eye, I would cross my eyes. Now I know it's left and right brain bringing together, right? And
Hmm.
then bring it back down, but don't blow out. We're blowing away our energy. The
Hmm.
idea with breath is prana, right? It's not to get rid of our energy, it's to circulate it,
Oh, so see it like a
which is
rubber,
why
a
Wim Hof
circling.
breathing works. You're
Right.
breathing and then you're holding your breath. His is the stress our body feels by holding your breath. You're training your body to deal with stress. That's the key with Wim Hof. Hyperventilate, in a sense, breathe really quick, and then hold. As you're holding your breath, your body's going, yo, help,
Yeah.
send the alerts, but you're training your body how to deal with stress.
Wow.
So when we hold our breath, it's really a good thing.
Right.
As long as you're breathing, then hold it. It depends. The circulating the energy is more of kind of a maintenance. And if I'm feeling anxious, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Bring it down, bring it down. But if you need to pump yourself up for something, do Wim Hof. It's going to
Mm-hmm.
give you a surge of adrenaline.
Right. And then
Cortisol
the
too,
heart,
but
the heartbeat
yeah,
one's more of like a grounding of
this is a
refocusing,
grounding.
coming back.
Yes,
Right.
this
Yeah.
is
Mm-hmm.
self connection, keeping the heart chakra open, the energy,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is why my hands got so powerful that I can do that, people.
Mm-hmm.
I think we all can do that, but it takes time.
Yeah.
I've been touching my own heart, God knows how, all throughout the day, my entire life. So I've been, that energy of the heart has transmuted through the hand.
Mm-hmm.
Downside, I destroy anything I
Yeah. I've heard of this before.
touch,
I've
which
heard
I
of
think is
this.
part of what, but with the hugging,
Yeah.
I see now I was actually giving people my energy.
Mm.
Without hugging, I would try to do Reiki on myself. I was getting chest pain. I think part of it was coherence, but the other part is I wasn't releasing any energy and my body couldn't handle the amount of energy that I had.
Mm-hmm. So when you can't give it away, it's building up
Right. So,
and you're,
I
yeah.
always used to say the heart filled. I think our hearts ache not because they're empty, they're too full.
Mm-hmm.
My heart was aching the last year and a half. Then it wasn't empty. I needed to give. I needed
Mm-hmm.
to get rid of that energy because love is
Wow.
an energy.
Well, you're definitely giving your love and your energy tonight. This has been an amazing conversation.
Thanks. It has
Um,
too. I
I am
love it.
gonna wrap it up here, but
Yeah,
I really hope that the audience that's listening in, I hope everybody is listening to this, and I know someone will get something out of this.
yeah,
It's I generally this is one of the longer ones I've ever had, so it's been an amazing conversation. It really has, and I mean
yeah.
that from my
And
heart.
seriously, they can call me. I mean, look, long time ago, or over this period, I would have people say to me, "You helped me more than a therapist." In one conversation, you did more work than 10 years. And I would say, "Do you mind me asking? Do you not consider me a professional? Because I have credentials out the wazoo." And
Hmm.
she goes, "Well, no, you're my friend. I trust you." I
Hmm.
went, "That's really sad. What's that say about professionals? We don't trust the people."
Hmm.
So I can't fight that. That's why it's been my whole life. I'm a friend to the friendless. And we're in this together. And the next few years, together, sure, we'll struggle, but alone, we're going to suffer.
Hmm.
And my role here is to just share what I learned through the experiences with the tools that my voiceless voice gave me. That's my job, to share all those tools with people, not to sell them, to share them,
I love
to
that.
take on for the team.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
That's why I said there couldn't have been a more fun way to take it to 15, but
Yeah.
that's what light workers are.
Hmm.
We take
That,
them for the team because we're older souls. We've been here
yeah.
before.
Without degrading our own self and our own
Right. Yes.
energy. And that's for anyone out there that does feel like they are a quote unquote light worker or energy worker or any of these things. We can label it what we are. We know what we are.
I
Star
think
seeds, all
we're
these things. But they're just make sure you're taking care of you because it can be we're definitely more
emotionally selfish.
susceptible.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're more susceptible and sensitive to a lot of things, and so it's
Mm.
important. And that's why I love having people like you on, because for those who are feeling that way, they can look at you and say, wow, okay, these are some tools I can use. And so I really do want to thank you.
Yeah.
I
But you
generally
can't protect the heart in
you
order to
can't.
do that. Carry a shield. Do not close or real last thing. This is your heart, right?
Mm-hmm.
Blood, pain, energy, everything. When it pumps, it's going out. I put a wall. What's happening? The energy can't get out. My pain is stuck in.
Mm-hmm.
My divinity is trapped in. We don't have to let God in. We have to let God out.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So when you go in an open heart, you will not burn out. But we get
Mm-hmm.
afraid. And so we guard. And now you're trapping your pain, your energy along
Mm-hmm.
with somebody else's. And that's what happens to healthcare workers. They
Mm.
teach us to guard our heart.
Wow, that makes a lot of
So you're
sense.
helping with a closed heart, and then they're passive aggressive. I mean, I've heard the conversations. I've actually said a few times myself years ago, like, I remember actually coming home from work on, I didn't pee for 12 hours. Well, now I look and go, you idiot. But I was trying to get recognition. You have to realize if you're a light worker, your role is not to be recognized. You must recognize yourself and know God recognizes you.
Mm.
You got to get
Wow.
ego. Ego and light worker do not,
They don't go well.
they don't go well.
Yeah, no, I get
You
that.
can't. You'll be angry. You'll get
I know
passive
that for a
aggressive.
fact. In the music industry, they want you to be ego. They want that ego to shine. And
Yeah.
it's one of those things that I always wrestled with. That's why I just kept creating my own music the way I was gonna do
Yeah.
it. And and same with this podcast. I mean, I love that people are following it, but it's not for me. It's because I want it to grow so people are learning
Yeah.
and
See, I can't
finding all
even
these
bother
people.
the stuff I put on. I can't even find where I post.
Right.
Right. And
Okay.
my whole thing is like, if I can't engage, if someone's going to make a comment, I want to be able to engage. And if I'm at this point can't engage with a comment, then I don't want to be putting anything out there to get a comment.
I
I'd
understand that.
rather go
Yeah.
out in the streets and engage 10, 20 people and, you know,
The
that type
beautiful
of thing.
thing though is someone like me can get someone like you on, and
Yeah.
I do answer people, I talk to people, and I may sometimes I'll
So
say
I
things
will
like,
share this.
yeah,
I don't know if I'll share it successfully. when it comes out,
That's perfectly fine.
I will do my
Yeah.
best effort to share it. But
Yeah.
yeah, and that's kind of hard too because people don't get anything in return. And I'm like, well, it's an us message, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like our souls came here for we missions, not me missions. And that's
Mm-hmm.
so hard for people to buy into.
Mm-hmm. No, I completely understand it, but I do know that people will absolutely love the conversation. They're going to get a lot
Yeah.
out of this. And the one thing I always say at the end of each episode is to please continue to like, share, and subscribe to the show because that is how we get heard. So I really do, but I do thank you so much, Leslie, for
I
being on.
think
This has
you
been
too.
amazing. It's been an
All
amazing
right, here, give me your
conversation.
hand. Hand, where's your hand? There you go.
It's right there. Yeah.
I'm sending you love, dude.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So